Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to do a quick tune-up on a Penn 4300 SS. This is kind of a crossover reel. It's similar to the old 700 series, but it takes on the 4300 Spinfisher series, and kind of has some modern elements of the spool and some carryover elements with the drive. That's a worm drive. This reel is in pretty good condition. I'll show you a simple tune-up of this reel. It doesn't take a long time to get it cleaned up for the season, and you'll be on your way. So one of the things about this reel is that it's got a drive that's a pinion and a main drive, kind of a shaft drive thing. It only has one ball bearing in it, and that ball bearing is located under the rotor here. So you really don't need to do too much. It's got easy access through a single screw on the side plate, which was typical of the 700X series. And we'll start there. We'll take that side plate off. You'll notice that there is no bearing on that side plate. It's a flat side plate. There's no bearing behind the main drive. The main drive has a bushing to it. And all you need to do, and this one's well lubricated, but all you need to do is keep the main drive lubricated, make sure that the teeth are in good working order. This is a transition piece that helps drive the spool up and down, and I'll do the operation on this just so you can see how the reel drives. It drives up and down, and then there's an anti-reverse mechanism in the back here that works to control stopping the reel from backpedaling. So let me show you quickly how to tune this up. In this case, you don't need to do anything with this main drive as it's well lubricated. Should you need to do something, all you need to do is remove this spool, this screw that'll let this gate open for the transition piece, and you can lube this well. I am going to take the screw out of the bottom of that transition piece to get access to the rotor so that we can go lubricate the bearing here. And this is a through screw, so you need to back it all the way off, as there's a threaded component to this in the spool shaft. This is the screw that we're looking for. And as you notice, I put those screws and my other parts into a little parts basket so that I know where they are when I go to reassemble. Okay, with that screw out, you can remove the spool. The spool shaft comes off, and once the spool shaft comes off, you have access to the rotor. Now the rotor is held in by a 3/8 nut. You can back that 3/8 nut off, and that'll give us access to the bearing. So here's your bearing. I just want to make sure that it's clean. In this case, this whole reel is very clean. So we'll just use some reel oil. I use Reel X on the bearings. I oil the bearings and I lube the moving parts. I use blue grease for the moving parts. You can see that there's a good amount of blue grease on the main drive as well as on the pinion gear, so nothing more needs to be done there. So once I've oiled that, you want to reinstall the rotor. That's a simple press on, and then this little set plate here works by sitting on the oblong piece, and then once you do that, you can reinstall the 3/8 nut and tighten that up. Now if you haven't seen this reel before, it's very similar in nature and in working capacity to, say, a Mitchell 302. It's a medium duty reel. It's good for inland ocean as well as lakes, streams, rivers. It's very durable because there's very few moving pieces and parts to it, and it'll last a long time if properly lubricated. Okay, so I just put that spool shaft back in. I've got the set screw that connects the crosswind transition plate with that spool, and all we need to do is tighten that screw now into the threaded hole of that spool, and that's what we're doing right now. And once that's done, your lower case is pretty much lubed. You can put that case back on, put that set screw in, and then I'll show you how to do the drag. There's only a single drag on this one. It's a kind of an H100 fabric drag to it. but that comes off the spool. Spool, as you saw, we pulled off. It has a little shaft here that is a push button shaft to pull the assembly off, and that's very similar to the Mitchell 300 as well. And you have a single press down washer here, and you have a single drag. I'm going to push that assembly through there, and you have a single drag here that should be popped up. Now this is a fabric drag, so fabric drags need lubrication. I use a drag grease for that. In this case I use Cal's universal drag grease. There's others on the market, but I've been very satisfied with it. And with the drag grease, you want to just do a liberal application on both sides of that. And then some people like to work it in. And as you notice, I'm wearing a rubber glove here, and that'll help you keep that contamination and lubricants off your hands as you do that. Okay, so this was clean. We've lubricated that. The back side of the metal piece is clean. We're going to go ahead and reinstall then. So I'm going to cover up that grease. We'll take the main shaft here. This is the transition piece shaft. This sits on that. The metal washer locks in place. Your transition spool drag knob in place. And we're locked on there. And then just away we go for another season. So in about 10 minutes, very easy to lubricate, very easy to check the condition of, and make sure that it's operating effectively, and this one will work forever. There is one piece I did not do. You can back your handle off here. You can pull off the shim, and you could put a drop of oil on this. This is the back end of the main gear, if you so liked. In this case, this one's running fine. If you ever had to replace that main gear, it's a push out. Once you do this, on the other side there, you would take off that cross-wind assembly, and when you took the cross-wind assembly off, you would go ahead and have access to the main gear. And there's a behind that, there's the anti-reverse mechanism, but you could replace the main gear like that. In order to do that, I mentioned as well as a little set screw here. But in this case, this reel is in good condition, and I thought I would just show you quickly how to tune that up. So it's a nice reel. It's a transition reel. It goes between the 700 series and a newer Spinfisher assortment of lines. It's a nice medium reel. It compares with that Mitchell 300 that everybody kind of grew up with in the 60s and 70s. And keep it lubed and oiled like that with the bearing, and this thing will last you a long time. So I hope that's been informative and helpful to you. And if you have one of these, I hope it showed you how to get it ready for the next season. And again, it only takes about 10 minutes to do, but it'll last you the whole season once you properly maintain that in the drag. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. If you like this, please indicate that. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for viewing.